Men of Reddit, what is a 100% myth about men? Thinking someone is attractive is not the same as wanting to pursue a relationship with someone. You can change something about me that I don't want to. One of the biggest myths about men is that we're constantly thinking about sex. While it's true that it crosses our minds, people seriously underestimate how much we think about food, especially when it's something really delicious. Sometimes, the thought of a perfect meal can completely take over our minds, pushing everything else to the background. Whether it's planning out what to eat next or daydreaming about that one incredible dish, food often wins the mental battle. We're all car fanatics. I don't know a thing about cars. A common misconception is that if a guy gets a boner, it automatically means he's feeling horny. But that's not always the case. The body can sometimes react for no apparent reason, and it doesn't have to be tied to sexual arousal. Sometimes it's just random, like when you're nervous, or even when you least expect it, like in the middle of a boring meeting or just waking up in the morning. It's just one of those weird quirks of the male body. We're fine. It's frustrating when people say I'm babysitting my daughter when I'm spending time with her. I'm not a babysitter, I'm her father. Being a dad means being there for her, whether it's playing together, helping with homework, or just hanging out. It's not a temporary job or a favor. It's part of who I am and what I do. Fatherhood isn't something you clock in and out of. It's a full-time role, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The idea that men think about sex every 6 seconds is just ridiculous. I can guarantee that when I'm stuck in traffic, my thoughts aren't jumping from frustration to random sexual fantasies. It's more like, ugh, this traffic is awful. Are we ever going to move? What's causing the delay? The last thing on my mind is anything remotely sexual. Honestly, dealing with the stress of being late or trying to figure out if there's an accident up ahead takes up all my focus in those moments. There's a common myth that all men are into sports, but that's far from the truth. Not every guy enjoys watching or playing sports, and some of us just don't find it interesting at all. We might prefer other hobbies like reading, gaming, or spending time outdoors in non-competitive ways. Just because sports are popular doesn't mean every man is a fan. It's a stereotype that doesn't really hold up when you consider how diverse our interests can be. It's a myth that we all love our bodies and how we look. We also feel fat or ugly and inadequate compared to an unrealistic beauty standard. There's a widespread belief that men don't want or need compliments, that we never cry, and that we're expected to man up and just deal with tough situations. Another myth is that men always prefer to pursue rather than be pursued. The truth is, men crave the same emotional and mental stimulation that's often associated with women. We appreciate compliments, we feel the need to express our emotions, and sometimes we want to be the ones who are pursued. Society has ingrained these stereotypes that tell us we shouldn't want or need these things, but in reality, we do. We're just as human and complex as anyone else, and those needs and desires are very real. The idea that men are always ready for sex is a total myth. There are plenty of times when we're just not in the mood. Maybe we're tired, stressed out, or have other things on our minds. Even when we do want it, we still appreciate some build-up, something sexy and seductive to get us in the right mindset. It's not like you can just grab our junk and expect us to be instantly ready to go. Sure, sometimes that works, but not always. We need the right vibe and mood, just like anyone else. Take your time and make sure we feel part of it rather than just something to be used when wanted. Never show a man you are interested. He prefers to work for it. If I ever got the feeling a woman was not into me, I would immediately stop pursuing her. If I got mixed signals, I would always doubt myself and be conflicted and anxious about pursuing her. If she gave me clear green lights that she was interested, that was when I was most excited, enthusiastic, and happy. I am an adult. I don't want to play head games. I want an adult relationship. Edit. Yes, I agree that you don't want a woman who is too easy to get. There is fun in the chase, but she needs to give some actual indication that she is interested and wants you to pursue her, that she is interested in a relationship too. She can't give you the cold shoulder or blow you off and reasonably expect you to keep going after her. It's a common myth that men don't experience violence from women, but that's simply not true. Men can and do suffer from domestic violence, emotional abuse, and even physical harm at the hands of women. Unfortunately, society often overlooks or downplays these experiences because of stereotypes that men should be tough or that women aren't capable of such behavior. This stigma can make it even harder for men to speak out or seek help. Violence isn't limited by gender, and it's important to recognize that anyone can be a victim, regardless of whether they're male or female. The idea that men can't have platonic female friends because we supposedly want to have sex with every woman we meet is completely off base. In reality, we're fully capable of forming deep, meaningful friendships with women without any sexual intentions. Friendship isn't always driven by attraction. Sometimes it's about shared interests, mutual respect, and genuine connection. Sure, attraction can exist, but it doesn't define every interaction. It's entirely possible to appreciate a woman's company and value her as a friend without any romantic or sexual undertones. Sometimes the woman is the abusive one, and that's valid. The belief that men suppress emotions because men aren't supposed to be vulnerable misses the mark. More often than not, the reason we hold back is that we've been hurt in the past after opening up. Maybe we trusted someone with our feelings and they used it against us, leaving us feeling exposed and betrayed. It's not that we don't want to be vulnerable, it's just that the experience of having that vulnerability turned into a weapon makes us more guarded. We're not emotionless. We just learn to protect ourselves from getting hurt again. That they always want to be the big spoon. Turning down sex doesn't automatically mean a guy is gay. It's frustrating how often this assumption gets thrown around. Just because I didn't want to have sex at a particular moment doesn't mean I'm not attracted to women. I've had multiple girlfriends, and even my ex-wife accused me of being gay just because I wasn't in the mood when they were. There are plenty of reasons a man might not want to have sex at a given time. Maybe he's tired, stressed, or just not feeling it. It doesn't have anything to do with sexual orientation, like, where the fuck does that behavior come from? I just worked 14 hours, I want to eat and go to bed. The idea that men are instantly ready for sex the moment our pants come off is a myth. Just like anyone else, we appreciate and enjoy foreplay. It's not just about getting straight to the act. The build-up, the teasing, and the connection are all important too. We're not always immediately aroused. Sometimes it takes a bit more to get in the mood. Foreplay isn't just something we do for our partner's sake. It's something we genuinely enjoy and need to fully get into the moment. Edit. A lot of speak for yourself comments. Maybe I am just desensitized or part of being 33. It's a common misconception that if a man says hello, smiles, or strikes up a conversation, he's automatically flirting or trying to get with someone. Sometimes we're just being friendly or polite, the same way we would be with anyone else, regardless of gender. Whether we're standing in line, sitting next to each other at a bar, or just passing by, a simple comment or casual conversation doesn't always have a hidden agenda. Not every interaction is driven by attraction. Sometimes it's just about being social or acknowledging someone's presence in a shared space. Erections are not consent. The stereotype that men share every detail of their sexual experiences with friends is far from the truth. In my friend group, we might casually acknowledge that something happened, but that's usually where it ends. We don't dive into explicit details unless something truly unusual or noteworthy occurred. On the other hand, it's not uncommon to hear that women often share much more with their friends, discussing every aspect of a partner's performance in bed. The idea that men are the ones who overshare is just another myth that doesn't hold up in reality. All men are the same. The stereotype that men are always the messy ones in a relationship isn't true for everyone. In my case, it's actually the opposite. My wife is the creative one, and with that creativity comes a certain level of chaos. I'm the one who ends up picking up after her, organizing things and making sure the house stays tidy. It's not about gender. It's just that everyone has different habits and ways of living. The idea that men are inherently messier is just another overgeneralization that doesn't reflect the reality for many couples. The idea that men are only interested in sex is vastly overstated. It's not 100%, but many of us are looking for much more. Men want connection, love, and a deep relationship with a partner. Unfortunately, societal views on masculinity often portray these desires as weaknesses, leading some men to hide their true feelings or put on a front. But the truth is, we crave emotional intimacy and a meaningful bond just as much as anyone else. It's time to move past these outdated stereotypes and recognize that men are complex individuals with deep emotional needs. There's nothing romantic when we ask for a hug. It's a fucking hug. I like hugs. Hug me, please. That we're all sex-crazed and will fuck anything. We actually have the ability to turn down sex from someone who we otherwise find physically attractive. Either because we're tired, nervous, have other commitments, just not feeling it, or what have you. The idea that men won't talk about their feelings isn't universally true. Some of us do open up and share what's on our minds, and we're also here to listen to your feelings as well. It's not that we're incapable of expressing emotions. It's just that the stereotype has made it seem like we're less likely to do so. But when trust and comfort are there, many men are more than willing to have those deep, meaningful conversations. We care, we listen, and we're not afraid to talk about what really matters. That we control what we do in your dreams, so stop getting mad at us for it. Believe it or not all men are turned on by every unusual or quirky thing you might do. Slapping boiled cabbage across your chest while making full eye contact and singing show tunes might be entertaining, but it's definitely not a universal turn-on. Everyone has their own unique preferences, and what works for one person might not work for another. The idea that men are turned on by anything and everything is just another myth that doesn't hold up in reality. We're all different, and what excites one person might leave another completely puzzled. Well, the notion that men are always ready for sex is simply not true. If a man turns down an offer of sex, it doesn't automatically mean he's gay, impotent, or finds you unattractive. There are countless reasons why a man might not be in the mood, and it's important to remember that he doesn't owe any more of an explanation than a woman would if she declines. Just like anyone else, men have the right to say no without needing to justify their decision beyond that. I've never felt the urge to trespass onto someone's property just because they have milkshakes. The idea that men are irresistibly drawn to something like that, to the point of breaking boundaries, is absurd. It's a funny concept, but in reality, most of us have more self-control and respect for others' space than that. Milkshakes, or anything else for that matter, aren't going to make us lose our sense of decency. Edit. Cold ones are better than yours. I don't think about the Roman Empire very often at all. The stereotype that men are always talking about sex doesn't really apply to everyone. In my friend group, we rarely make sexual innuendos or discuss that kind of stuff. On the other hand, my female co-workers seem to talk about it all the time. It's a funny flip of the usual trope that men are the ones who can't stop talking about sex. I don't mind it at all. It doesn't make me uncomfortable or anything. It's just interesting to see how different the reality can be compared to the stereotype. The assumption that all men are naturally good at DIY projects is just a myth. Not every guy knows how to fix a leaky faucet, build furniture, or handle home repairs. Some of us might not have the skills, the tools, or even the interest in doing it ourselves. Just because society often paints men as handy with tools doesn't mean we all fit that mold. Sometimes we'd rather call a professional or simply don't have the knack for it. And that's perfectly okay. Sometimes it might seem like we're uncaring or distant, but the truth is, we just need some me time to decompress. It's not about ignoring others or being indifferent. It's about recharging and finding a bit of peace after a long day. Everyone has their own way of unwinding, and for many of us, that means taking a little time alone to clear our heads and relax. It doesn't mean we don't care. It's just how we take care of ourselves so we can be there for others when it matters. We're horny all the time, not all of us. The idea that men don't cook or do housework is outdated and wrong. After a long day at work, I come home and cook dinner for my family every night. It's not just about providing a meal, it's about taking care of my loved ones and being an active part of the household. Cooking, cleaning, and helping around the house aren't just women's work. They're responsibilities that everyone should share. For many of us, it's a point of pride to contribute in these ways and make sure our families are well taken care of. The idea that men prefer women who play hard to get over being straightforward is a misconception. In reality, many of us appreciate honesty and clear communication much more than games. It's refreshing when someone is upfront about their feelings, and it helps build trust right from the start. Playing hard to get can be confusing and frustrating, leading to mixed signals and doubt. Most of us would rather know where we stand and build a relationship based on mutual respect and understanding than try to decode someone's intentions. We all love big boobs. I once found myself in a chat room where a woman confidently declared that men think about sex every 6 seconds. I responded with a simple "no, we don't," but she had the audacity to insist, "Yes, you do," as if she was an expert on the inner workings of every man's mind. It was frustrating, to say the least, being told what I supposedly think by someone who seemed convinced they knew better. This stereotype is not only inaccurate, but also ignores the fact that men, like anyone else, have a wide range of thoughts and interests beyond just sex. It really frustrates me when people assume that men would be worse parents than mothers, or that we're somehow less capable of taking care of a home. The idea that men are just overgrown children, sloppy and lacking any domestic instincts, is incredibly unfair. It paints us as if all we want to do is lounge around, play games, and avoid responsibilities like parenting and housework. Yes, there are men who fit that stereotype, but they're a tiny minority. Just like there are women who aren't great at those things either. The majority of us take our roles as fathers and homemakers seriously, and we're just as committed to our families and homes as anyone else. That men can't be raped. The idea that men are universally attracted to fake eyebrows, long fake fingernails, and hair extensions is a misconception. While some men might appreciate certain styles, many of us actually prefer a more natural look. What really matters isn't the makeup or the extensions, it's the person underneath. Genuine confidence, a warm smile, and a real connection are far more attractive than any amount of cosmetic enhancements. Everyone has different tastes, but assuming all men are drawn to these artificial features overlooks the fact that beauty is more than skin deep. The rumor that men have a special third nipple that produces honey is utterly absurd and clearly a bizarre attempt to make us seem like freaks. Let's clear this up once and for all. It only produces wax. Kidding aside, these kinds of wild myths are just another example of how ridiculous stereotypes can get. It's all nonsense, but it does make you wonder where people come up with these things. The belief that men don't like cuddling is just plain wrong. Many of us enjoy cuddling just as much as anyone else. It's a comforting and intimate way to connect with someone we care about. The idea that men should always be tough and distant is outdated. We appreciate the warmth and closeness that comes with cuddling, whether it's after a long day or just while watching a movie together. It's one of those simple pleasures that can make us feel secure and loved. Men are pigs. I'm clearly a human like every other dude out there. The idea that a man cannot be forced into sex by a woman is a harmful and false stereotype. I've personally experienced being forced or bullied into sex since I was a teenager, and it's something I rarely talk about because of how people react. As a big black guy, I've heard things like, "But you're huge," or "How did she force you? She's only 100 pounds." These comments completely dismiss the emotional and psychological pressure that can be involved. It's not just about physical size or strength. There are many ways someone can be coerced or manipulated into a situation they don't want. Sadly, when I've tried to share my experience, I've often faced harsh criticism, especially from women. So I usually keep it to myself. It's a tough and lonely reality that more people need to understand. That we're all competitive. I don't give two shits about who makes more than me, who has a bigger dick, who wins at pool, who can dunk better, etc. It's boring to me. All are assholes. No, just no! And that's it for today's deep dive into the myths and misconceptions about men. As we've seen, the stereotypes don't always match up with the reality. Men are complex, diverse, and, just like anyone else, have their own unique experiences and challenges. If you've got thoughts or stories of your own, drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay tuned for more insightful Reddit stories. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.
Trespass, but you're bound to break down, bound to lose, bound to get knocked